Okay, so here is our next question. Not making money is something that can be frightening. It freezes my brain. I procrastinate a lot. Do you have any tips when panic arises to direct your mind back to action so that you can move forward on what you are trying to build? How to be creative when your mind is in fear. Do you notice, just as a side note, how many of these questions are around mindset and how deeply entrenched the relationship between money and self-confidence is? It really stood out to me when I was going through these questions. And it actually, I feel like that's really positive, because I think if you understand that a lot of this is that inner mindset work, you are in control of that. You can do that work, you can do it for yourself, and you can make such a difference. Okay, so as I said, I'm so happy that this questioner asked this, because I think it's something that so many people who are stepping out of corporate and into regenerative work are experiencing, that fear, that freeze. And like I said, I came to this work from 15 years experience as an entrepreneur. I thought I knew how to make money, but it felt so different out of my own in a field of work that essentially I made up. There wasn't a blueprint for how you coach people out of corporate and into regenerative work. That's not a thing. I made it up. And yeah, you've made money in the past. Perhaps you've had a really good salary, you have deep experience, but now you're treading a new path, and that panic comes up and the freeze state kicks in. So 2 things that I think will really help you. Focus, we've already mentioned. In fact, you said here that you procrastinate, but I'm willing to bet that you don't procrastinate, and that actually what you are doing is taking a lot of action, but without direction. So when you have a clear financial goal that feels meaningful and achievable, and when you have defined ethical and personal boundaries about how you're going to make that money, and then when you decide on just one way of making that money until you've hit your goal, so much of that anxiety drops away. So much of that noise and chatter and indecision, because you're removing all of the what ifs. What if I tried something different? Have I chosen the wrong thing? Is there something else I should be doing? Maybe I should just give up and go and get a job. You remove all of that and you're looking ahead to your goal. You commit, and the energy of making that commitment is really important. It completely changed my business for me. Somebody is saying here, that is so true. It is somehow the way you approach things that we need to change. I absolutely agree. I couldn't agree more. I'm glad that is resonating. Yes, so that's exactly the process that I'm outlining in the framework, and I encourage you to take a look at that, because what I hear in this question is that you're probably not being as kind to yourself as you could be. You're calling it freeze, you're calling it procrastination, and it's really good that you're aware of that. And I also think that if you can make some aligned decisions that feel really good with your values, and you can find some focus, that all of that experience that you have behind you is really going to come to bear. And you said so rightly, like, how are you creative when your mind is in fear? And creativity is the perfect antidote to anxiety. The more creative we are, the harder it is to experience anxiety. But when that creativity is scattered and is all about trying lots of different things, it doesn't have the same effect as when that creativity is focused on a clear goal, and then you can just get better and better at doing that thing. When you have a clear financial goal that feels meaningful and achievable, and when you have defined ethical and personal boundaries about how you're going to make that money, and then when you decide on just one way of making that money until you've hit your goal, so much of that anxiety drops away. So much of that noise and chatter and indecision, because you're removing all of the what ifs. What if I tried something different? Have I chosen the wrong thing? Is there something else I should be doing? Maybe I should just give up and go and get a job. You remove all of that and you're looking ahead to your goal. You commit, and the energy of making that commitment is really important. It completely changed my business for me. There was a lot of panic for me around, can I make money doing this? Is it enough? When is it going to come? Where's it going to come from? Have I chosen the right thing to do? Should I look at all these other alternatives? And I was a little bit overwhelmed by choices, actually, and thinking, no, it's this, it's that. Wait, I had too many ideas, and I really wasn't committing to a single path. And therefore, I wasn't making money in the way that I wanted to, because I hadn't committed and I wasn't following through and I wasn't focused. And so one day I took myself on a little mini business retreat for one, and I was sat in a hotel having breakfast with my notepad and pen as always, and I wrote down these 7 questions for myself, and it just kind of flowed out of me in a way that I've sometimes experienced when I'm really connected with something that's kind of bigger than myself. And this framework just arrived in front of me, and I just went through each question, answered them, and I set myself a really powerful financial goal that was really meaningful to me. I set boundaries around ethically and personally around how I was willing to make that money. And I looked at all of my options. I found different ways of looking at them in terms of likelihood of success and what brought me joy. And I chose my path, and I made myself a solemn promise that I was going to stick to that path. I was going to achieve that income goal. And until I achieved that income goal, I wasn't going to waver in my focus. And I promise you, from that morning forward, I'm a different person inside of my business. My focus, my energy, my drive, the balance that I have with my work and my family and just spending time with myself and in nature, it's been absolutely game-changing. And that's why I wanted to create this framework and offer it to as many people as possible.